The truth?
Oh, I'm all ears.
Okay. The truth.
I always tell the truth, even when I lie.
Why do you find it so hard to believe?
Why do you find it so easy?
It's never been easy.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth.
All I'm offering is the truth. Nothing more.
Hello and welcome back to Truthful Talk. It's good to have you back with us. I am Marco, for those of you who haven't been here before. And once again, I am joined by Natalie Boulait. Hey, Nat.
Hi, Marco.
How are you?
I'm excellent. How are you doing?
I'm doing really, really well. And I think we're going to have a good time today because we are in studio with us are two really, really fun people that we've grown very close to. And so everyone say hello, and you guys say hello. We have Joshua Fulmer and Faheem Bacchus with us.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Excited to be here.
It's good to have you both with
happy.
us. So, Faheem, you're now in New York.
I am, yeah.
So you were in town, and so we thought, hey, let's get together and
hang out with my cool friends. Yeah, really excited to be here.
And it's kind of a reunion for the three of you.
It's a reunion.
It's a reunion.
Oh,
This is the reunion.
I've been waiting for that. I love reunions. Oh, this is so good.
So Natalie was in a play called Say Goodnight, Gracie, along with Faheem and Josh. And so it's great to have the three of you back.
Yes.
All on together.
It feels so good.
And how long has it been? When did we close that play?
Almost 2 years.
Has it been almost 2 years?
I think
Almost
so.
2 years. Our last show
20,
was in December of 22.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
It's like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay.
It feels
Because
like
we're in
just
24 now, right?
yesterday. Right.
Yeah. Today's Monday. Oh, it's Friday.
It's Friday.
Right. Got
You're getting like me.
What is
Yeah.
time?
What is time?
Oh.
I
I got to tell you, your character of Bobby, when I think about it, was quite profound.
mean, I thought, you know, this is very much like me, right? You know, I feel like I'm profound. No. All right.
As long as you feel that.
Yeah, no, he said some things that really stick, right?
Yeah.
The cycles,
Yep.
what is time. He had a lot to offer. So he was a good guy, Bobby.
Definitely.
I think so.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As under the influence as he was the entire, and this is Bobby under the influence.
True.
Not the actor. But it was
We
just
think.
crazy. We think. Well, we never know.
We're pretty sure, but yeah.
That gets brought up in classes. I don't know if you know this or your ears are ringing in New York, but your performance and how you didn't play it, but you were under something, right? But it came across so effortless, and people believed for sure, like this guy is on something.
Yeah.
Which I think is so wonderful.
I can't tell you guys what I was doing for the hour before we got on stage, but no, yeah, it was a lot of fun to play with,
Mhm.
right?
Well,
So-
the interesting thing was that, yeah, like Nat was saying, people who didn't know you
yeah.
thought that was your actual personality,
Mhm.
and then was quite surprised afterwards
When I would come out and hello,
Right.
how are you? Thank you so much for coming, right? Yeah, no,
that you didn't have that accent,
no, yeah,
Right.
and that you didn't have that style of speaking and that stoner vibe, and
or just anything in real relationship with, except the profoundness, clearly, right?
Obviously.
clearly,
Yes.
Yeah.
clearly.
The profoundness was there.
That's what you guys had in common.
That's it, right?
the profundity. The
that was
profundity.
that was the element of truth, you know, that was there. So yeah, no, and I think that's the fun part, right? When you get to explore something just outside of your day to day, right? And so
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun to do that.
And those who are, let's see, we have a couple members of the cast not with us today. So
Yes.
Audra, which we'll have to have on a future episode. And then we had two actors in the role of Steve, which was an interesting thing to do in our run of the show,
Mhm.
because we had Chris Ivers, who did the first half of the run. And then because he was committed to a national touring show that he does as well, he went off to do that. And then Sean Philippe stepped in.
Yep.
And right mid-performance. So how was that for the three of you? What was it like to change a main actor in the middle of a run of a performance?
You guys go, because I want to hear it from you guys.
I mean, it changed my entire relationship with that character. And in a way, it changed the relationship with my own character, like with that I had with myself and that character.
Okay.
He just brought a completely different energy to the show. Almost manic.
Yeah,
and it was, with Chris, he was easy to be frustrated at the way he played that character. And with Sean, it was almost hard to be mad at him. So, and for those that don't know, my character is someone who gets really overwhelmed with that character. His
roommate.
Whenever Sean would say anything, I'd be like, I want to be mad at you, but I can't. You're just, you're too much positive energy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think the size difference?
What
Because-
size different?
Chris is a lot taller than Sean.
Oh,
So
yeah.
do you think the fact that Chris was is more intimidating too? That it was easier to be mad at him, where Sean's small, so it's
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
He's this little tiny burst of energy.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
So
it was a complete shift. And, it's easy to, I think you just said, easy to be sort of like up in Chris's face almost, because
Yeah.
he's a large guy. And, look at me, I'm not going to hurt him. But with Sean, it was almost, well, Sean's muscular, so I don't know.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
he's compact. That's
No,
he's
he's-
all
he's
muscle.
compact.
He's
Yeah.
just
So it wasn't an even playing field at all. But it also made the physicality.
Yeah.
I felt like we were more careful with Chris when it came to any of the physicality that we had, versus Sean and I could be a little bit more.
Well, we added some physicality.
We did. We added with more with Sean. We added a choke hold and everything like that. That
Right.
we didn't do with Chris.
That fight scene was a lot of fun. Yeah, where
Mhm.
Sean really takes it to
Mhm.
to Jerry. Yeah, that was
Well, I think the size difference between you and Sean was what made that funny as well.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That he puts you in a chokehold.
Because I'm like, I like a foot on him or
because
something.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see it again. Like see it if we can. But-
yeah.
But that goes to show also about when people say, some actors say, how they're upset when another character is replaced or changed,
Right.
and they personally they feel like they cannot bring their own because that character or that person brought something out of them. So there is like a non-working relationship that some actors have, which isn't, I don't think, healthy or even professional, where we had someone else go into that role and you played off of that person in this new, truthful, but new way, but easily.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. I think that was one of the things. I'm sure that switch is hard, but we had known about Sean coming on to the second half a little bit earlier. We had gotten to spend some time with it, and at least people that didn't know him. And it was just the ease of that, bridging that gap. He was
Right.
so easy to work with. You wanted to be around him. I remember the first time he walked in to introduce himself, he gave me a hug, and that type of vibe that Sean gave off. I would say the two big things, Josh hit on them, was the physicality. So the first scene that I come in, Sean, he goes, maybe I should jump into your arms. And he did. And he would jump. Like, I didn't even have to do anything. I just had to put my arms out and he would just fall right into them. I couldn't do that with Chris.
Nor should you have.
Right.
Like,
because
nor was it.
It was a different physicality that he brought to it. Even things that Chris and I did, we changed all the physicality when Sean came in, and they both had their unique spaces.
Yeah.
I think the big thing with Sean, it was the energy level shifted. And I would say almost for all four of us, it was, you had to kind of pick it up a little bit more just with the way that Sean moves, which was a lot of fun because it gave us a whole nother challenge. It felt like it was a different show in many ways. So
It sped up a lot of the different portions of the show
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
That had previously been not negatively slower, but
Just
Just a different
pacing
pace.
pacing
Yeah.
changed a lot.
Yeah, it was but it was a cool experience just to have that shift in the middle with two very different actors that brought different things to all of us. So yeah, it was fun.
I think it's a good commentary about acting. and how it's not the same thing. You change out an actor, the show changes.
100%. Yeah.
And there's not a good or a bad to that. It's just different because of how much of our actual personality goes into the role.
Yeah.
Who we are goes into that role. We can't just change out another actor and do the same exact thing.
Right.
We have to change and adjust to that actor.
Yeah. 100%.
You know, with the exception, I would say, you know, understudy performances typically have to be pretty close just because there's no rehearsal time. An understudy goes on, they're going on in place of somebody, typically last minute. And so you can't really change the show. You have to be very, very close to what the main actor's doing. But what, you know, many Broadway shows will do an initial run with celebrity actors. And then the celebrities go off to do film or whatever they're doing, and they replace them with Broadway actors. And the show continues.
Right.
And it's brilliant the way it can happen.
It's a testament to those who do study acting that if you are faced with a challenge where there is a change, that believe it or not, if you did the work, that won't change what you're doing, if you will. It won't change all the work that you did, negate it or throw it in the trash. It actually just shifts into a different angle. And sometimes people feel like they can't execute that. But then this was, like you said, a great challenge for us to recognize that, oh yeah, it's another same piece, but just a different image of the, I don't know, but something like that. I need to eat something.
There's an example on Broadway right now of that situation. Sweeney Todd. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that musical, but Josh Groban and I wish I remembered.
Sutton Foster.
No, Sutton Foster's the new one.
Oh, is she?
Josh Groban was with Anna something. I feel bad that I can't remember the actress's name, but it was replaced. They stopped their run, and now it's Aaron Tveit and Sutton Foster.
Got it.
And it's, if you see the clips of the different shows, they are different shows. Same script, same music, different energy.
Different energy.
So interesting.
And that's so much of it is energy.
Yeah.
And working off of the energy that we're getting.
Yes.
Yeah. It's funny because when this conversation would come up, you know, a lot of remakes, things like that happen, and you're like, oh, don't touch it, leave it alone. It was already great. But there is something, and some of them, leave it alone.
Sure.
But there are times where you do recognize this, especially I would say in theater. It's a whole different show. It's a different experience
Completely.
every time, and you get something totally different from seeing it with different people. And I think there's something really remarkable about that and beautiful about just the art, right? So.
Yeah, Shakespeare's done God knows how long ago, and you know, continuously, you know, is redone, and nobody over and over and over and over, and there's a reason for that.
And there's always a different take on it, right?
And there's always a different take on it.
And that's the challenge too of the actor for you that had to adjust to the new Steve coming in. You know, our goal as an actor is to always be able to work off of what is right in front of us.
Yes.
We never know, because even if you are on Broadway, off Broadway, professional theater, if the understudy goes on, everyone else, I mean, yeah, the understudy has a big role to fill, but then everyone else has to now work off of this new person and not react how they think it should go based on the main actor.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to really live truthfully off of that. And it's a lot of what we work on, right? That outward focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a great point. Not what you want as the actor that you're used to, I guess, but yes, what that person is doing, working off of moment to moment to moment. And we were talking about this, I think, the last podcast, where in acting in general, people were asking, weren't you exhausted or annoyed with being in one show for a year? Like, wasn't it boring to you? I was like, never. And you guys, I'd like to hear what your take was on it, because that was mine. When someone asked me that, I was like, okay.
I think the only time I ever get bored with the role, if you can call it bored, it's just when I think, and I know art is never finished, only abandoned, but it's when I feel that I have nothing left to explore, or I feel like there's something else I want to explore and I'm ready to move on. Not because it was the same thing over and over again, but because I've exhausted my current capability to dive into that character and I'm ready to explore a new challenge.
How about you, Faheem?
That so just clarify the question. Just how do we feel about doing the show
For
as
so
as-
long.
Yeah, we did it a year.
You did it
Yeah.
a year. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of things to take away from that. One, I would probably say it was, if I'm thinking over the last, I don't know, 5-10 years of my life, that was probably my favorite experience that I've had in a very long time. Definitely in the space of acting, right? One, being surrounded by people that I wanted to be around for an
Right.
entire year. I remember when we did the second show, we're sitting in the room, we're getting ready, and there was this conversation. I think I had it with Natalie, or I said, we've been together for a year and I'm not tired of seeing any of you. Like I'm excited to be
Yes.
here. And I think that's what keeps you motivated too. When you love the people that you're working with,
Yes.
you want to keep going and you want to do the show. Like I could have continued with that show just based on being able to be around the people that I got to
Mhm.
spend time with,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Yeah.
As for doing the show, I think it's interesting for us, right? Because I think we had the two Steves. So we had different experiences to kind of go off of for the first run and the second run. So there was a lot to work with, a lot of things that we already talked about, changes that came along. So that was exciting. But I think it also gives you the opportunity to really explore. When you do something for not as long of a time, you don't get to go too far. And I'm sure something to what Josh said, at some point, maybe there's a point where you're just not ready to push it any farther, or
Mhm.
not that you're not push it, but you've explored everything that you wanted to explore and experience.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just enjoyed being around all of you. I
Yeah.
mean, that made the world of a difference too. So
And even once the show was done, we had a conversation. I was still coming up with like, that's something else I could have explored that I didn't get a chance
Right.
right,
yeah.
there's always
Um,
something.
to.
Yeah.
So
Nat, how about you?
I never, not once, I could have done it in another 2 years or
Yeah.
whatever. I'm fascinated by that process, by being in that, the energy of it all. I don't know, with the writing, with the people, with the director, with Marco DeGeorge. I don't know if you guys know this. He directed
I was like,
this.
who's the director? I can't remember. Yeah.
So it was just,
Did I?
it was so beautiful that, yeah. I haven't
Yeah.
gotten there yet where I'm like, I'm done with it.
I've only gotten there in film.
Uh-huh.
In a
Mm.
film process, I do get to the point where I'm like, I'm done. But it's just so technical
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
exhausting. It's not, because when you get to shooting film, you're almost done exploring.
Yeah.
It's because, right, when you do the rehearsal process and the discovery and everything else, but then when you're shooting, it's so technical. You have to get certain shots. The director wants certain things. You go into close mode to shoot it. And so I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm good. Can we wrap this up? And
And I
Yeah.
always wondered that about long series and things like that, especially because I feel the same way. Film is sort of like an on-off
Mhm.
thing, very technical. I imagine my desire to continue working on a project would be based on
Diminished.
the people I'm with. Like,
yeah,
Yeah, that counts.
you see a lot of like sitcoms and stuff where they just have really close connections. That's probably what fuels.
well, the nice thing about sitcom is it's like theater,
that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
right? They film it in front of a studio audience. At least the laugh track ones are. Yeah, they're filmed in front of a studio audience. They're done like theater. You learn the script. You go out. You do several takes of it in front of the audience.
Yeah.
It's very theater-esque. And it's interesting. I was just watching. What was I just watching? I was watching an interview with Jerry Seinfeld, and he was talking about working with Jason Alexander on the show. And his point was that working in television is completely different than anywhere else. And he had this. There's an episode of Seinfeld. You'll probably remember this, Nat. There's an episode of Seinfeld where Kramer was golfing at the beach and he hit the
Yep,
ball inside
yes.
and the whale. And George was pretending to be a marine biologist, had to go save the whale. Well, the whole ending speech that George gives in the
Monologue.
they didn't have that apparently. Like that wasn't written into the show. They had these two side stories, but never connected them. They had
Mhm.
George pretending to be a marine biologist, Kramer golfing at the beach, and also George saving a whale, but never connected the fact that George saved the whale that Kramer hit the ball into. And so Jerry said it was like 2 a.m. that he and Larry David were writing it. Gave it to Jason the next morning and said, "Hey, we're filming this in 30 minutes. Can you do it?" And he says, "Yep, no problem. I got it." And he said, just a short time later, they're filming it, and he was word for word.
Yeah, and I think it was 2 takes or something like that he did, or a couple. It was a very small amount of takes that he did. And sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And Seinfeld said that when you watch the episode, he's like, when the shot comes, when the camera goes to Jerry, he said, the expression on my face is because I'm in awe of what Jason is doing, not because I'm reacting to the story.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm just in awe that he's getting it word for word so passionately. And he's like, that's a TV actor.
Yeah.
TV actors work fast.
Yeah.
The amount of just the memorization for that alone.
Right?
I mean, we
It's a
have
long speech.
many breakdowns, when we get monologues or such, and then you put on that pressure of audience or television, and that's incredible. Just the memorization alone. But he's Jason Alexander.
Yeah.
And he's been doing it. I don't even know how old he was when he was filming that, but he had been doing.
Yeah, he's a theater actor. He's
and that's
well
what that.
trained.
Yep, the theater is everything to get that training under. Oh my gosh, he's incredible.
Really,
they all were.
It really does give you an appreciation that all of these, whether it's TV, film, TV, film, theater, they all have very unique things to take away. Like a TV actor doing that, obviously there's so many things, wonderful things in theater and film. You've talked about it before, right? Film is like the 100-meter dash, where theater is like the marathon. They're both difficult and need training.
Yes.
But they're different in how you have to train for them and what you need to be able to do. So yeah, I think it's really awesome that we can have the opportunity to explore all the different mediums.
So thinking back to your time during Say Goodnight, Gracie, what was the most difficult thing for you during that?
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Faheem.
And it could be, as it relates to characterization, personalization, performance. Really anything. Just your personal lives. I don't know. What was the thing that you needed to overcome or you struggled with the most?
Okay, I'll go.
Do it, Josh. Yeah.
So, when okay, so as actors, we like the attention, right? But we also want to be liked. And Jerry was probably there always has to be the unlikable character in the show. Not that he was meant to necessarily be unlikable, but when it started, that's how it was, especially. He was as the reviewer put it, sad sack. And you had, even my wife at one point was like, why can't you be more like Bobby? And I'm like, that's not the point.
I think
I know.
Ouch.
But so there was these 4
everybody
people.
loved Bobby.
Right. There was these 4 people that basically everyone loved on stage. And then there was and then there's Jerry. So a part of that, as an actor, you I think that hurts sometimes. You're like, I want to be the likable person, but it doesn't serve the story. So you play the role that you want to. And we eventually, especially in the latter half of the run, adjusted Jerry to be a little bit more sympathetic and less of I guess a nuisance, which was nice, but
sad stuff.
fulminating.
But
I think that was my challenge, is knowing that okay, I'm playing this character who is the show didn't have an antagonist. No, it didn't. No. But sometimes it felt that way because it was, at least my personalization, and in some ways the script supported that. It was almost him against the world. It was him against the 4 friends.
Yeah, I think that's really what it was, right? It was.
So while he's not an antagonist, in a way, it was an antagonistic role towards what they wanted and what he was sort of preventing them from getting. Yeah. In a way, Jerry was their obstacle. And being the obstacle it can be a lot of fun, but that was my challenge, is learning to be okay with being the character that when you go out afterwards and greet the audience, they're like, man, that Jerry, He's the worst.
And that was a big challenge in that play of knowing that we had to find a way to make Jerry likable. Because on the page, Jerry's not necessarily likable.
And for me, it was more important to be sympathetic than likable, I guess.
Yeah,
they kind of go hand in hand.
Sympathetic,
but yeah, because not every character needs to be likable. But I think there does need to be some element where you can connect with them, and be like, I understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Sure. If the audience doesn't feel for you in some way, doesn't feel bad for you, doesn't understand or have any sort of empathy, then
it's
your whole storyline, no one cares.
Right. It's
We're like, oh my God,
one-dimensional.
Let this guy leave already. He says he wants to go. But we got there.
Yeah. So that was, I felt my challenge in that.
Yeah.
role.
Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting because a lot of people, when they would ask, when we talk after the show, friends, family, they were always concerned with, where did Jerry go? They were always,
Right.
and I think that was awesome that we left it in a way, and you left it in a way that the audience wanted to know what happened to Jerry. They didn't ask about the rest of us, but they did. But they always they said, "Is he okay?" And I remember that they would come, and they'd be like, "Is he okay?"
I
I'm
love
like,
it.
Well, the page ended. It's
Yeah.
for all of us to kind of figure out together. But yeah. Difficulties. I mean,
Because you had also physicality, voice.
I think-
you had.
I think that was it for me. Being really stepping outside of the box, coming up with the physicality, coming up with the voice, just all of those other things.
Air guitar
Playing.
playing.
Yeah. Just trying to be as authentic to that character and that time as I possibly could be. The hardest thing for me, funny enough, would probably be, I remember the day, and I don't know that you all knew this in my head, the day that Sam said, Faheem, Josh doesn't work with a mustache, so you're going to have the mustache. And I said, okay, all right. And I remember the first day she shaved me up, I said, I have to walk around like this in real life.
Yes.
That was very difficult at first, but I would say it all went away once people saw the show.
Right.
They got it. I had to give a talk somewhere, and I was Bobby, right? Mustache, sideburns, chopped, long hair. That was a little bit of an adjustment for me too. But it was all fun at the end. But that was a challenge. But I would say again, the characterization, the physicality, the voice, getting that consistent was, in the beginning when we were reading it off the page.
Yeah.
Okay, Bobby needs something. He's been in Jersey for this whole time. He's
Right.
got to have that. And figuring that out took a lot of time. And I'm glad we had the time to explore it. So by the time we were ready to start, it was there. It could move a little bit organically.
And, to go back to the air guitar thing, like you were talking about, Nat.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to be facetious or anything.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And it's a good lesson. So there's a sequence where we have an original song being played, right? We had a song written for the show. And we didn't get that till, we're closer to the end.
Yeah.
We get the original song. And your character has to play the air guitar. And I remember when we talked about it, we're like, because the character of Bobby is a musician. So you can't look like you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
So we decided to, you're going to learn how to play the guitar well enough to then air guitar
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
this song.
Yeah. Yeah. We Alex taught me. I remember the first day he brought a guitar and he said, "You're left-handed?" By the whole beginning, I was practicing right-handed, and he said, "If you're left-handed, let's flip the guitar." But yeah, we did that for the first 2 months. It was every day of rehearsal. I had an hour with him, and I remember Alex, I don't think, knew that I was going to air guitar. He thought I had to play the guitar, and he was getting really worried. He's like, yeah. And then I remember the relief. He says, "Oh, you're gonna air guitar? Okay, we're almost there." I was
really
like,
hear him saying that.
Yeah, he's like,
Oh.
"Oh, okay, yeah." And I remember the show he came to, one of the first shows, and I asked him the question about the air guitar. He's like, "Yeah, and it made the world of a difference. Even now, going back through it, just working that muscle and being able to put it up there again just adds to the authenticity of the character.
Of the character, right? Because
Yeah.
your character is this musician. Now that you have this inside of you of how to hold the guitar, how to play it, it changes, and I think it added to Bobby's swagger.
Yeah.
Which
For
is
sure.
nice, yeah.
Yeah.
And but it's the note I wanted to make was that sometimes as actors we don't just learn the big things. Sometimes like the smallest moments, even though that was a 30-second moment in this 2-hour play, we put so much time into that one moment to make it as authentic as we can.
Yeah, for sure.
So because then it kind of has a ripple effect in everything else.
Yeah. And the believability, right?
Yeah,
You
the
don't- you don't wanna-
believability. Yeah.
You want the audience to ride with that character and believe it the whole way through. So yeah, no, it was fun.
Now, what about
It
you?
was wonderful. I would say the allowance of allowing myself to be as free as Catherine was, with her sexuality, with her just free. And I just remember being terrified of that, knowing that I wanted to delve into it. I wanted to do stuff, but it was just something that was always like going into a freezing shower or something, like, oh my gosh. And I had to get used to that in the beginning. And then once that happened, it was just like it was an honor to be able to do. But it did psychologically before, like, oh my gosh, because what the substance that she's talking about and all this stuff. And, I didn't realize I was as conservative as I am, but like seeing the difference between her and me and then bridging it slowly, getting there or whatever it is. That was just challenging for me. But once I was there, I felt like, okay, I was safe. I was fine.
Catherine's such a difficult role because of that. And I remember I didn't put the show on for many years because I wasn't convinced I had the right Catherine. And because that was the one role that, I mean, you can go in a lot of different ways. Of course, like we were talking, like you can change the character. Steve, Bobby, Jerry could even go slightly different directions depending on how we, but Catherine, to me, if we didn't hit that just right, nothing else made sense. And so, I remember that being, that's why I wanted that. That was the challenge I wanted to give you on that was like, you got to fully open up.
Yes.
And fully, which is so difficult to do as an actor because many times we want to hide behind the character, not be fully exposed by the character.
That's a beautiful way to express that, is opening up. I also saw it like when I started getting into the work, that it does something even like to your heart. I felt like, what is it? The Grinch. And it's like the one heart and it's tiny and then it grows bigger. Like I felt that afterward. Like I felt, not after, but when I finally got to that place, like I felt that bigness of her heart. And it was just crazy because I was so terrified of it, wanting to do it, saying, sure, I can do it, Marco, sure. And like hyperventilating in the back, not knowing what beauty came out of it with working with everybody. And to this day, she's that feeling of the expansion of literally meeting that character. It has stood with me to this day. It's crazy. It's made me grow in my heart.
And physically, Catherine was very open, just very kind of flowy, touching everything.
Yes.
And that was like a really nice piece of that, of you, the outsider of the group, coming in, but touching everything around you as if it's yours.
Yeah.
And it's lovely because that felt for me as a curiosity, but like a wanting to be one with everything around her. I mean, she was just extraordinary to explore.
And it paired off well with Bobby. Bobby, huge physicality.
Yeah.
And then Nat, this very open physicality. So it's like, okay, the pairing works really well. And then on the opposite, the contrasted side, we had Jerry and Ginny, who were more conservative in their physicality.
For sure.
And so it was interesting. And then Steve was kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Depending on the Steve we had.
Depending on the
it
day
went
and the
from one
Steve,
side
yeah.
to the other. It was,
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is giving too much away, but can we talk about like the physicality in regards to the animal work or things
Yeah,
like that? Because
sure.
I always get fascinated because we spent some time doing animal work, and that was a bridge to another planet for us, I think.
Oh, I think so too. I think that
Yeah.
really helped. And I definitely saw it in well, I mean, I think in both of yours, it was very specific. And you know, you were using a monkey, right?
I
Or
was
a,
using
type,
a
a very
monkey.
very specific type.
Uh-huh.
And it was
What kind of monkey
Well,
was it again?
It was a macaque monkey.
Macaque
yeah.
monkey.
You just wanted to hear someone say it.
I
be
did.
honest.
I did.
You
That
knew
was it.
exactly
That
what
was
it
what
was.
Say it one more time for me. Yeah.
And maybe we can pop it up on the screen if we get to that level. I can
Oh,
show
that
you
was
because it's
the
even
macaque.
funnier. Anyways, doing
Yeah.
research on that monkey. But watching him also knowing Faheem and then
Yeah.
Bobby, two different things, and just the freedom, the fluidity that you
Right.
had with it, the rocking that he had. You know, it was just so organic, and it was just cool.
Because yours was that. You had the puppy
Had the
of
puppy.
of
You
the
had a puppy.
what type of dog was it?
It was
the
Husky puppy.
Husky.
Husky.
Yeah.
a husky puppy.
A husky
which
puppy,
Husky. The adults have a lot of energy.
Yep.
The puppies are
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. They're,
Oh,
Surprised Bobby didn't scream more.
you know. I did. There was a lot. Yeah, a little bit, you know, but it just goes back to the work, right? That you put into it. We did that work. There was the physicality came off of about hours.
Yeah,
hours,
just the
days of
repetitiveness of just doing it over and over and over.
and over again. So yeah.
And for those out there that you know, we're talking about something called animal work. Animal work is it's a classical training tool. Classical training means it's one of the core tools they use in London, in Europe. They call it classical training, and it's a physicality exploration tool where we take on the physicality and behavior of an animal, and we do it simply as play. And it's just to allow us to try to move and behave and react differently than we might normally move and behave and react. So we're not stuck. So it's really just play and exploration, and we try new things and get out there. And then we see what happens. It's not that we're mimicking that animal, but we allow it to maybe open something up to an idea, a creative idea that then we can bring into whether it's just the energy and the hyperness of Bobby or the just the very openness and touchy feely nature of Catherine. You know, Audra had the bird,
Which was
brilliant. The sand something bird,
Piper. Is that a sandpiper?
sandpiper,
Yeah.
Oh,
sandpiper
jeez.
bird, which are the ones that like move around really quick, and you know, so
Mhm.
that led to it. What was I don't even know.
I know.
Were you a cat?
Briefly,
Yeah.
yes.
Briefly.
That's a good example, actually. A good sort of like segue into the conversation of some tools work for different characters or different actors.
Correct.
That doesn't always, you know, we use different tools when we're getting into
Mhm.
character. And so while, you know, the animal worked really well, especially for Catherine and Bobby, it just didn't click with Jerry. And I know we tried the hairless cat, I think. The Sphinx
Yes.
cat.
We did.
Yeah,
We
we
tried
did.
the Sphinx
Oh.
cat.
Was it
Yeah.
a Siamese? It doesn't matter. Anyway, sorry. I don't know.
And it was a fun exploration, but we ended up not
Yeah.
using so much from it.
Because I remember that one led us down into an area of the cat where you were very standoffish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was like, oh, well, hang on. We need to make Jerry more
Right.
likable.
Yeah.
Like Jerry wants to be involved with everyone
Mhm.
else,
Yeah.
even though the character's pulling back and kind of, I don't know, say not standoffish, but removed?
Apprehensive.
Apprehensive. That's a better, more
Super-
apprehensive.
And what I remember actually, I remember a moment like when you were leaned against the radio towards the end, just kind of listening. And I remember in the beginning of it where it felt like, okay, this guy just doesn't want to talk. You know, there's something
Right.
about that he was, I don't know, giving up or just not, like the wall was up.
Mm-hmm.
And then later, just the energy. You didn't even say anything. And you were leaning against the same radio
Yep.
as we would do every night. And it seemed like you were just listening, or you like there was an opening. So that was so interesting.
Mhm.
And that you obviously you went and you explored it, but then you're like, oh well, that didn't work as an experiment because we're just exploring this, and then you're noticing as the director like, we need something else, and that's also when you have to.
Yeah, because at the end there was a longing. There was this thing.
Yes,
We found out that Jerry
nice.
very much longed to be a part of this group, but didn't know how.
Yeah,
He just did not understand how to be who he thought they wanted him to be.
Right.
Yeah.
It was so nice.
it was,
Really was.
but it changed. It was crazy.
When I was fired, walking around the streets, I thought of all the people I had worked with in the office.
Sure, you felt bad, I know.
I could imagine them at their desks, as if nothing had happened. As if nothing would ever happen, and I knew I wasn't a part of their world. I knew it before they knew it, but I didn't know how to go back and say goodbye to them.
We probably should talk about it, but big shout out to what we were able to do because of the wardrobe and the set.
Samantha DeGeorge.
Right? I mean, the wardrobe, I remember when Sam brought those shoes for me and those bell bottoms, I felt
with your sideburns and that mustache
and that jacket, right?
That button down.
Yeah, right? You know,
And that sweater vest with the hole in it.
He had a sweater vest with a hole in it. Which was perfect for Jerry.
So perfect. I mean, that audition went well. But yeah, that was a big part of it, right? It just it makes all of the things that we do easier because it was so enlivened the character, and then the set, just being able to play on that set was
she's incredible.
She was.
We love you, Samantha DeGeorge. We're talking about our set designer.
We were talking, and we can kind of continue it here. Is that a part of the whole thing that allowed us to explore everything was the wardrobe and the set? I mean, for especially for me, just telling the team, those shoes, they were called devil dogs. I remember those
shoes were called
devil dogs.
That's interesting.
Yeah, she said, I can't remember. She had to tell the story, but yeah, they were called devil dogs, and she knew. She was like, "All right, I have to get them now, right? Because I eat like 20 devil dogs."
And by the end, were your dogs barking?
You're right. Yeah.
No.
Cute. But it was all of that adds to your ability to play, because now you're like a superhero in your suit, right? I'm invincible. I can do anything. And then the set, just being able to play with everything that we had, and big shout out.
It even talked back to us sometimes. Just think.
Oh yeah. Scratch my head there for a second. I was like, what?
It had its own character.
Remember when we were trying to time the sync? We
would try to time it, and
hopefully we get the sound. And we got it a couple times. Yeah.
And nothing will ever match that first time.
Well, I think just because none of us expected it.
That's what it was.
And the audience assumed that it was part of the whole thing, and it was great. It was great. Good times.
She's incredible. I hope to have her on as soon as possible, because I was just thinking that maybe we can have it with the cast so she can give us a little insight.
True.
All the stuff that she's doing, and we can, we'll talk about how or whatever. But I would love for her, because she's the sixth, character, and you're the seventh. We had the director, and then Samantha DeGeorge, the set designer, costume designer. Bobby, if you could see pictures, I mean, how amazing 1970s! Like, it's insane how authentic, and the shoes were from these eras.
Right.
It's just so much that we can.
Yeah.
I would love to chat with her.
So good.
Remember going shopping for wardrobe?
I do.
Yeah, I do.
I remember my first wardrobe. Remember, it changed.
I don't remember. What was your first wardrobe?
It's in the posters.
It's in the first
Oh,
poster.
okay.
It's in the first posters. My hair hadn't gotten long enough, so it was
Awkward phase.
It was in the awkward phase. I had that middle
Ah.
part, and we had that yellow flowery shirt
That's right.
with the orange bell bottoms and the orange shoes, the like wingtip looking shoes. And we ran that at first, and then Sam goes, no, we're gonna change this. And it was funny because the shirt that I wore, she was so excited because when she found it online, she thought it was white. We both looked at it and we thought it was a white shirt, and then it came in, it had this pink. She's like, this is even better. And I was like, yeah, I feel cool. So yeah,
It was a good outfit.
It was
such a good
and
outfit.
it landed. So I understand seeing the photos, being there with you, like, okay, this is Bobby. And then when it came down to it, when you're like, this is it with Samantha, I saw it. I'm like, oh my God, that's Bobby. And like it was sexier. Like, it just like you dropped into it. It was just, it's just crazy how she has, again, the attention to detail. And she cared so much about how we felt in it. And it mattered. And so the collaboration again between how us was important to her. And I have been in sets now with short films and such, and nobody gives a damn. And it's
true.
so sad because you think that you're going to have somebody who's just as, and obviously, Samantha DeGeorge is very special, but it's just, you live and learn. And it's just amazing when somebody is so proud of their work and it means something to them and they're the artist that, it's just beautiful.
I remember her talking about your wardrobe, Nat, and wanting to make sure that you felt comfortable.
Yeah.
Like she didn't want to just pick it out.
Yeah.
She said, no, if Natalie needs to feel Catherine inside this.
Yeah.
And so that's why when you found that flowy.
Made a world of a difference. And again, when it fits, it ships. It was that moment. And it took me a while, I guess, to get something that was, that was Catherine, that I felt that she would be in, and that made me feel free. Yeah.
Because for the character of Catherine, the character is extremely provocative, but it wasn't that we wanted to necessarily put you in a provocative outfit. It was like comfortable, that showed your inner strength, that showed like all of those things. And that's, what you found was perfect.
It was in a wonderful store. Where was it? Oviedo?
Yeah, it was the Oviedo Mall.
I wish I remember the name of it.
It's called Ducky's.
Ducky's. Thank you, Ducky's.
Yes.
Because they had so many clothes and things and from a certain set days and decades or whatever. And it was wonderful, so beautiful. We found so much incredible things there. Many things in that dress. And when I found that dress, it felt as if like Catherine, she could wear anything and still be that. It doesn't matter, but to have that for Natalie to meet it there somewhere I love that dress.
And to have the burst of color on both of you walking in the door.
And the color, the science, the art behind it.
Yeah,
contrast.
It was right. Contrast, exactly what it was.
Were you in all black? Just kidding. I'm kidding. But you did say that you were in a holy
Well,
vest?
both Audra and I were in more muted.
Yes.
Like I was in the the brown and mustard yellow, and Audra was in, I don't remember exactly what.
But she changed. It was like
she
that.
changed when she came home, and she was in a skirt,
like
a denim skirt.
Right. Yeah.
Within like a tan or yellowish.
But not like the burst of color.
No,
that
it was
in
very
the
muted.
camera.
Or was it blue? I forget what her top was.
No,
blue?
hers was like
Blue and
like a whitish.
We should know this.
Blue, whitish blue.
Whitish blue. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Oh, I wish she was here too. In the future, I can see a part two, a part two.
But I think when you ask the question about doing a project for this long, I think those memories stand out as well, right? We were in doing the wardrobe shopping, setting up the set. I think that built this group dynamic even more. We talked about it. The rehearsal process was probably the best part of the whole thing. Just getting to hang out, do the thing, be part of the set. That was the part that, when we got to the show, it's like, all right, we're we're at the show, but the
Yeah.
rehearsal process was a lot of
Yes.
fun. And
It's often the memories and the moments in between. I forget what series it was. Maybe it was The Office. Maybe it was John Krasinski. There was a series, and they were asked, "What is your favorite memory like from shooting?" And the actor or actress, whoever it was, said it was going to dinner.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was,
So it's-
it was the time with the cast,
Yes.
not necessarily filming. It was
Yes.
those
that
moments.
off time. Yeah.
Those are the memories that you remember because it's building relationships and
And it is something also about, I believe, the director, like someone who is actually good with personalities and understands that. I feel like sometimes it can be a crapshoot, this chemistry thing, but
Mhm.
there has to be some kind of thought process, knowing what these people can do, capable of personality wise. And at least with Marco having a lot of experience with us all, he in his, how he thinks, incredible mad genius
Yeah.
he is saying, okay, maybe these people will work together and well. And I
Yeah.
know that some people will just go ahead and say, no, I'm going to pick that person, that person, that person, that person. And then basically think like it's going to go well. And,
sometimes it does.
most times it doesn't.
Yeah.
Most times they're stressed about silly things that shouldn't be part of the artistic, theater making, play, whatever, the process,
Mhm.
So I always feel like that's also an ode to people who do casting.
Yeah. That brings up a good point. Because in film, for the most part, they don't worry. I mean, they just cast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's not that they do it all the time, but sometimes they don't worry about the cast getting along.
Mm-hmm.
It's film. It's all technical. They're just worried
Yeah.
about putting the best people in there. But in theater, I think it's so incredibly important. And I wish they would take more they would take it more seriously in film casting, where it'd be like, no, chemistry casting between the actors is important.
Mm-hmm.
Chemistry casting between the director and the actors.
Mm-hmm.
Because I only want to cast people I get along with.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not just casting like, oh, that they're a good actor. Let me put them
or
in
a great
something.
actor.
Or a great. It
thing-
doesn't
yeah.
matter. If I don't get along with you, then we're not going to be able to go where we need to go.
Mhm.
I hear that more often than not. Maybe that's like an old way of thinking. This like, I'm just going to cast even though I don't get along with her, or she just looks like parted. But I hear that more often than not, that people are wanting to say that. Like, if I'm going to spend 14 hours with this person, especially on a film set, I want to bare minimum get along. And then in the chemistry read, some people think it's just about, I don't know, the love, the lust connection, whatever that is. But I think that maybe in the chemistry read, that those people who are casting are actually hopefully looking for, are these people, can they get along? Are they enjoyable? Am I
Mhm.
can we explore together without them?
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't say being a diva. That's not the right. But I know people that don't get it at all. They think the chemistry is like, well, I'm going in for a chemistry read for my callback. And this guy I'm really nervous about, but I'm going to make sure that he just thinks I'm going to wear the hottest thing and whatever it is.
Right.
It just seems like, oh, that's not what it's really about. But
No.
I guess for some people it is, or that's how her vision was of it. And I was like, that's kind of a shame. I wish it wasn't. But.
Well, how many directors do we know that work with the same, like in major films, work with the same set of actors over and
Yeah,
over again?
you
And
see
it's
it all the time.
Because they find people they want to work with, and they're like, this works, and so they just keep
Yeah.
making this. Like Tim Burton with
All-
Johnny Depp and Helen Bonham Carter, and
Yeah.
almost how many films were they all in together?
Yeah. Look at
Quentin Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino with Leonardo DiCaprio,
Nolan.
and-
Nolan,
Nolan.
works-
Scorsese.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's right. It's that you have that chemistry already. You can
Mhm.
trust each other.
Mhm.
There's so many variables in making a film, a TV show, a play that you want to minimize that. And who are the people that you can trust? Who are the people that are going to be there and do a good job?
Yeah.
And to me, which was another thing of, right? So like when I cast, because a lot of students and actors, they really don't understand. Everyone, of course, thinks that they're right for the part.
Yeah.
Every actor thinks that, no, I'm kind of like Jerry.
I could play Catherine.
I think he could.
It's weird though, but every actor, they don't realize that, and it's not that you're not right for the part, but when I'm casting, I'm not just casting a role, I have to cast the ensemble.
Mhm.
And I have to make sure that in this case, like the 5 people all work well together. And that goes into the casting. And it doesn't mean that someone I didn't cast was a bad actor, but it's possible to not be the right fit with with the other actor. And that it has to work.
Yeah.
If we had one person of the 5 that, let's say 4 of you didn't get along with the 5th, then we wouldn't have been able to do what we did.
Right.
Just by having one person. Or even as a director, if I have one person that I don't get along with, then it interferes with my ability to direct the ensemble.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's so important to
Yeah.
understand that casting, especially in theater and in student film. So for the directors out there, you must cast people that get along with each other, and you must cast people that you get along with. You don't have to be best friends, but you can't have any sort of apprehension. You can't have any sort of negativity. It will sink the entire ship. Yeah.
Interesting.
Right?
How directors' minds work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Casting, yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
Captain,
now I
my
just
Captain.
I feel like there's just very few exceptions to that rule. Very few.
Yeah.
Like I know Daniel Day-Lewis is an
Oh,
example.
well.
But
Well, sure. Yeah. There's always the exception. Of
DDL.
like, yeah. So,
Mhm.
yeah, right. So you take Daniel Day-Lewis and you're like, all right, I'd like to win an Oscar. So
right.
let me cast Daniel Day-Lewis to give me that Oscar, and then we'll move on.
No,
But that is such an extreme.
I'll be
exception,
miserable
you know,
for 2
like-
months. But
Yeah,
I don't know,
exactly.
is he that bad to work with?
Well, he's
From what-
extremely high maintenance.
Okay.
Mhm.
Because he does a deep dive into
Yes.
characterization, and it's hard to criticize how far he goes into his characterization, because it's incredible physically, vocally. I mean, he does all of that. But there are people like Gary Oldman that do it without being mean to others.
Yeah.
Daniel Day-Lewis tends to go a little bit further to where all of a sudden it's very off-putting to people around
okay.
him. And so it's a little extreme. That, in my opinion, you don't need to go as an
Right.
actor, meaning you don't need to be in character when you're not performing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to stay in character the entire day. You don't need to be in character, between shots and takes. And sure, there's always rehearsal. There's always things you could be working on, personalization. As an actor, there's always something to work on. But when you get to the point where you refuse to be acknowledged by your actual name, and you'll only respond to the character's name,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, we're going beyond where we need to go.
I'm not even sure he enjoys it,
I don't know.
because I mean he only does what,
We should ask
or
him.
he's retired now.
He's
which,
retired
Which many
now.
actors who enjoy
Mr.
what they do
Lewis.
never retire. He's retired,
now. He did it one every 4 years.
and one like so. It's not like he's like.
Yeah.
So if you love to do something, like I feel like you do it more often than that. I don't see many interviews with him, so maybe he just said he didn't have the time to put in. But
he believed that if he was going to do something, he wanted to go as far as he could into that one character. So he was picky and choosy of the characters he would do. And then, but he would spend a year to a year and a half on the characterization. And then he would do the shoot, and then he would take a year and a half to 2 years off.
interesting. I do wonder how much joy he got out of his work.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because Anthony Hopkins, for example, he's how old is he now?
Yeah.
Sorry, Anthony Hopkins. But he's still working, and
Yeah.
there's so many actors who there's no age limit. You can work as long as you want, and they have a sincere joy for the work that they do, so they don't want to stop.
I don't know. I do respect what he does, Daniel
Mhm.
Day-Lewis. And if I had that ability to say, no, this is what I'm going to do, and it's going to be 4 years until I do it, and here I go down the rabbit hole of the rehearsal, I think I would be a Daniel Day-Lewis.
So absolutely, I mean,
but nicer on set,
right.
I guess.
There is a deep respect for that, and for
Yeah.
and for what he does in his process. I am just curious on if it.
Yeah,
Are you happy?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
He allowed his acting life to interfere with his personal life,
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
which is he blended them together. I mean, he would go home at night and still be the character,
yeah. Okay.
like
that's
while
much-
they were in
yeah.
deep rehearsal or shooting. And it's like, and that's where I think his
Mhm.
family demanded that he took time off between the roles, because they couldn't
Deal with
handle.
it. I can't deal with this.
You can't deal with that. So he was in the mindset, which some actors are. He was in the mindset that you have to suffer for your art. And it crossed the line where so many actors did not like working.
Mm.
Even Sir Ian McKellen came out and talked because they went to the same school together. So they grew up, in the same time in the same school. And Ian McKellen said it, he worked with them in conservatory or repertory and said it was one of the most difficult experiences of his life. And he never wanted to work with them again.
Wow.
After that.
And he knew it then.
You knew it then.
Wow.
He says he was that,
Right.
That
Wow.
crazy back then.
How old is Daniel Day-Lewis now?
I can Google
What
it.
is time?
What is time?
That's good point. Yep.
Everyone's older than I think they are, which is
yeah.
depressing to me.
Right.
I was
Yeah,
even
I
like,
don't know.
De Niro, and thinking,
Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah, I think of De Niro, and I'm still thinking of what Goodfellas,
Goodfellas, yeah.
right? And you realize that he's
Oh,
like
God.
80.
80. Yeah, he's 80.
With a new
been
baby.
84 years.
It's just oh my god,
It's so
it just-
wild. Yeah.
It's depressing.
He's still living his best life. Like I said, he just had a baby.
Yeah.
Like
hey.
a couple, I'm going to
Wait,
say like
wait.
2 years ago.
You did.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wait, I missed out on this news. What?
Oh yeah, he had
It wasn't
he
that
just had a
long
baby
ago,
not too
yeah.
long ago.
Who had a baby?
Well, De Niro's, let's say wife. Let's go with wife, girlfriend. I don't know what you call it nowadays. But yeah, third one. I don't know, but we can
Yeah.
Google. But yeah, he's living his best life. Marco, you guys got it good.
A baby at 80? I don't know if that's my
Baby
best
at
life.
80.
I don't know if that's
That's something.
No.
That's something.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
okay.
I think it's De
didn't-
Niro or is it Pacino? Which one?
It's De Niro.
I think it's
Okay.
De
I'm pretty sure
Niro,
it's De
But
Niro.
I think because I actually think too, Pacino just did the same thing not too long ago. But yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, you forget how old
All right.
Pacino is. Pacino
You guys may need to fact check us on any of this stuff.
Yeah, please
I
do.
don't know if any of
I'm
this is
gonna have
accurate.
to-
It's all alleged. We
Yeah.
have no idea what we're talking about.
The entire comment section just be like, they
Yeah,
said
yeah.
this and they're completely
Yeah.
off. I'm like, yeah, probably.
Yeah, right. They all come,
We
everyone comes
acknowledge
down-
that we are completely off.
I don't think before I
Yeah.
speak.
Oh man.
Oh my
Good
gosh,
stuff.
now I'm gonna have to Google. Well, I'll show you so you feel. Anyways,
Yeah,
later.
yeah.
No, but that's
We'll fact check ourselves.
We'll fact check
yeah,
ourselves. Yeah.
Before the pod.
Next time I know, I'll bring the computer and then,
Yeah.
then we'll
and
look
have
it
it
up
ready.
and-
Yeah. But yeah.
Okay, well, good to know. So before we conclude this episode, so what advice would you give to other actors, people starting out? Either as far as acting, characterization, anything you've learned along the way. What piece of advice would you give?
I'd say be patient with yourself and
Okay.
the process.
Okay,
Yeah, I can keep it that simple.
be patient.
Be patient. Do the work. Be patient. Do the work.
Okay, all right, good.
Oh, we're skipping over me.
Oh, no, we're skipping over me.
Oh.
We're going in order.
Honestly, I like what Natalie said. I tell people fortune favors the patient, right? So be patient with the process. Having been a part of Truthful acting for 5 years, it's not always easy when you start out, just allowing yourself to just get there. But the more you just keep putting in the work, show up, be on time, and you'll get there. You'll get there. And I think that's it. Outside of that, personal experience, because of where I came from to where I am now, from a corporate setting to working towards being a full-time actor, also being patient with where your life is. We say it all the time, trust the timing of your life. Allow things to, just plan for what you want to do and, just do it. But be mindful of all the steps you're taking too. So
Okay.
that would be it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Joshua.
I'll just take what they said and add on to it. Be patient. Do the work. Have courage.
Mm.
And simply aim to be a better version than you were yesterday of yourself.
Ooh, I like that.
That's
Very
beautiful.
nice. Yes, snaps for that.
Wow.
Very, very, very nice. Very deep.
Thanks.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. So that is all the time we have for today. But thank you to our guests for being here. It was
Yes.
it was awesome having both of you on. Thank you so much
Thank you for having us.
for doing that. And Nat, this is awesome. Once again, having
Thank
you here.
Thank you, Marco. This is wonderful.
All right. And for all of you out there, thank you for tuning in. We really, really, really appreciate your support and you listening to us. And we will be back soon with another episode And until then, make sure you treat yourself with kindness and reward yourself for the risks that you take. All right. Bye, everyone. If you'd like to learn more about our studio and what we do, you can find us online at truthfulacting.com. And check out truthfulactingonline.com for our Learn at Home at Your Own Pace courses.
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
I know what you're trying to do.
I'm trying to free your mind, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.